Hello. Today's story is about a beautiful 18-year-old American girl who mysteriously vanished after finishing her lunch. She had gone out for a run and was later found to have met with a tragic accident. The police investigated for years, but came up empty-handed, leaving the case unsolved and turning it into an enduring mystery. However, nearly 30 years later, thanks to the collective efforts of many people, the culprit was finally unmasked. The main character of our story is Mandy Stavic, an 18-year-old girl at the time of the incident. She was cheerful, outgoing, and had a lovely appearance with a round face and big, bright eyes. Mandy's family lived in Whatcom County, Washington, in a small, picturesque, and peaceful town called MM. With a population of fewer than 300 people, the town was sparsely populated. Most residents made their living through farming, and the town had long been known as one of the safest places around. People didn't even need to lock their doors, and often left their car keys in the ignition without fear of theft, as nearly everyone knew each other. Mandy's family hadn't always lived in MM. They were outsiders who moved there in 1984. Her parents were divorced, and her mother, Mandy Stavic, had brought her children from Alaska to settle in this tranquil town. Mary had visited a close friend there and was so captivated by the town's serenity that she decided it was the perfect place to start a new life with her kids. Their home sat at the end of a road in the town, surrounded by a lush forest filled with greenery, offering a wholesome and simple environment. Besides tending to their small farm, Mary found a job driving a school bus for the local elementary school. Her 3 children all received a proper education, and the family led a stable, happy life, at least at first. Mandy had an older brother named Brent, but when she was 8 years old, Brent, with permission, went hunting in a forested area near a military base in Alaska. He never returned. When his body was found, he had been shot 17 times. That case, too, remains unsolved to this day. Perhaps it was this tragedy that drove Mary to leave behind her painful past and seek a fresh start with her remaining children in MM. The family quickly adapted to their new surroundings and had been living there for 5 years. Among her children, Mandy was the one who stayed home with her mother the most. From a young age, she was energetic and lively, with a passion for sports, especially running and horseback riding, at which she excelled. In high school, Mandy joined the basketball and softball teams and was also a member of the school band, where she skillfully played the flute, saxophone, and clarinet. She was an admirable student, graduating with honors as valedictorian. With her generous personality and striking looks, Mandy was well known and loved at school. To her friends, she was a beautiful, talented, and exceptional girl, an ideal many admired. In the fall of 1989, Mandy graduated high school with outstanding academic achievements and earned a spot at Central Washington University, setting the stage for a bright future. But no one could have predicted that this already unfortunate family would face yet another sudden tragedy. One day, Mandy disappeared during a routine run, just like so many times before. So, what exactly happened that day, and how did Mandy vanish? Let's rewind to November 24th, 1989. It was a Friday, the day after Thanksgiving, and Mandy's first time back home from college to spend the holiday with her family. After lunch, she decided to go for a run, one of her favorite daily activities. Usually, her mother, Mary, would ride a bike alongside her, but that day, Mandy's aunt came to visit, so Mary stayed behind to chat with her sister. Since they lived in a small, tight-knit town where everyone knew each other and life had always felt safe, Mandy went running alone without a second thought. Mandy's running route was simple. It started at her house and headed west along a riverside road until it reached a dead end, then looped back. The straight path was about 2.5 kilometers long, making the round trip roughly 5 kilometers. Only a few scattered homes lined the route. She left home at 2:30 p.m., wearing a light-colored sports jacket, green athletic pants, blue and white striped sneakers, and carrying a portable music player. She also brought along her German Shepherd, Kayla. Mandy ran comfortably, listening to music on her familiar route. Time passed quickly, and she reached the turnaround point to head back. Her younger brother, Lee, was playing at a neighbor's house nearby, just a few hundred meters from their home, and glanced out the window to see Mandy running back with Kayla. Since it was so close, Lee assumed she'd be home soon. By 4:30 p.m., 2 hours had passed since Mandy left, and even Lee had returned from the neighbor's house, but Mandy was still nowhere to be seen. Normally, she'd have been back long before then, so her prolonged absence struck Mary as odd. She began to worry. Just then, Kayla returned home alone and immediately hid in a corner, acting strangely, as if something had happened. When Mandy still didn't appear after a while, Mary's instincts told her something was terribly wrong. She called Mandy's boyfriend, Rick Gender, to ask if Mandy was with him. Rick replied that he hadn't seen her all day. Lee then told his mother he'd seen Mandy running back with Kayla while he was at the neighbor's, but that had been hours ago. The more Mary thought about it, the more uneasy she felt. Unable to sit still, she called the police and rushed out to search for her daughter along Mandy's usual route, shouting her name. Word spread quickly, and soon neighbors joined in. Before long, nearly the entire town was mobilized. Some searched on foot, others on horseback, and a few used off-road motorcycles to scour the forest where cars couldn't go. The police deployed a border patrol helicopter for an aerial search and brought in 9 units to comb the area near Mandy's home. They went door to door, asking if anyone had seen her. Despite a full day of exhaustive searching, no trace of Mandy was found. The police wanted to use Kayla, who had been with Mandy, to track her last location, but the dog was unusually timid and refused to leave the house, as if traumatized by something horrific. By November 26th, the third day since Mandy's disappearance, the search continued. Around noon, a search team found a pair of green athletic pants in a forested area, believed to be the ones Mandy had worn that day. The police showed them to Mary, who noted they were dirty and torn. Though they looked similar to Mandy's, she confirmed they weren't hers. Lab tests later proved they were unrelated to the case. On November 27th, the fourth day, a search team and a rescue boat patrolling local rivers spotted a body near a fork in the stream. Upon closer inspection, they confirmed it was Mandy. She was face down in the water, completely unclothed except for her shoes and socks, showing no signs of life. Her clothes and music player were nowhere to be found. The discovery site was less than 10 kilometers from her home. When Mary received the news, she collapsed in grief. Having already lost her eldest son, she now had to endure the sudden loss of her beloved daughter. Since Mandy was found in the river, it was initially unclear whether she drowned or was murdered. The autopsy, released a day later, revealed she died of drowning and showed signs of assault. Mandy had been an excellent swimmer in school and even worked part-time as a lifeguard, and the water where she was found was only calf-deep for an adult, making accidental drowning implausible. The coroner noted a hematoma on her head, suggesting she'd been struck and possibly knocked unconscious. Scratches on her thighs and arms, likely from brush, were also found. The police concluded that Mandy had been attacked while running, injured, and knocked out. Her assailant then dragged her through dense woods, assaulted her, and threw her into the river, where she drowned while unconscious. In the 1980s, DNA testing was rudimentary and limited. Detective Peterson, who led Mandy's case and had recently completed training at the Federal Investigation Academy, worked with the FBI lab to extract male DNA from Mandy's body. This breakthrough prompted a deeper investigation. The first suspect was Rick Gender, Mandy's boyfriend. They'd been together for over 3 years, a relationship marked by both sweet moments and occasional conflicts. Recently, tensions had arisen between them. Rick cooperated fully with the police and was devastated by Mandy's death. He admitted to past arguments, but insisted they were normal for a couple and harbored no deep resentment. On the day Mandy vanished, Rick had a solid alibi, and his DNA, provided voluntarily, didn't match the sample from her body. He was cleared. Around that time, the Green River Killer case was terrorizing Seattle, Washington. Mandy's murder occurred in Whatcom County, 185 kilometers from Seattle, not too far. Given similarities in the crimes, police briefly suspected a connection. Media even speculated Mandy might be another victim of the Green River Killer, whose case remained unsolved then. Local police contacted the Green River Task Force, but after reviewing the details, they concluded the cases were unrelated, and that lead fizzled out. As time passed, the investigation stalled. Though they had the killer's DNA, the technology and databases of the 1980s couldn't identify a match without a suspect to compare it to, and police couldn't force DNA collection without evidence. Mary, desperate to keep the case alive, gave media interviews to maintain public attention. Townsfolk raised $25,000, equivalent to $618,000 today, as a reward for useful tips. At Mandy's funeral, classmates and Rick, clutching her favorite teddy bear, mourned the loss of the beautiful, talented young woman taken too soon. Despite the DNA evidence, no further suspects emerged, and the case went cold. Fast forward to 2009, 20 years after Mandy's death, with her killer still at large. Detective Kevin B., the third investigator to take on the case, reopened it. Passionate about solving this decades-old mystery, he dug into the details with fresh eyes. After hearing Mary recount the events, Kevin noted overlooked possibilities. Though MM was a small town, he believed the sparse population didn't rule out local involvement. Recalling a UK case where a murderer was caught by testing DNA from a small village, Kevin compiled a list of MM residents from 1989 and began investigating them one by one, asking for voluntary DNA samples. U.S. law prevented forced collection without evidence, so some agreed while others refused. After interviewing over 100 people, no significant leads emerged, and years passed without a breakthrough. In June 2013, two mothers, Heather B. Trum and Maureen Anderson, from near Bellingham, Washington, took their kids to a water park. Chatting casually, they brought up Mandy's case, which had once shaken the region. Living near MM, they knew the story well. During their conversation, both mentioned a man named Tim Bass. Curious, they shared eerie encounters with him around the time of Mandy's murder. They recalled Tim's harassing behavior and noted his home was near Mandy's running route. The coincidence gnawed at them. Could this be a clue? Feeling it might help, they boldly called the police. The tip spurred action. Police reviewed 1989 records and found Tim Bass had never been DNA tested. His old home sat along Mandy's route, and Lee had seen Mandy running back not far from there, though it hadn't raised suspicion then. In January 1990, 2 months after the murder, Tim married his girlfriend and left MM. Now living in Everson, Washington, with his wife and 3 kids, he worked as a truck driver. Neighbors described him as clingy, quiet, and slightly odd, but he had no criminal record. Detectives visited him. Surprisingly, Tim claimed he barely remembered Mandy, only vaguely recalling her when prompted, an odd lapse given her case's notoriety and his proximity to her home. When asked to provide DNA, he flatly refused. His behavior fueled suspicion, but without evidence, police couldn't compel him. Tim worked at a bakery, and police approached the manager, Kim Ware, asking for his delivery routes to surveil him and collect discarded items like cigarette butts for DNA. Kim, wary of privacy violations, declined. But in 2015, 26 years after the murder, her stance shifted. Chatting with a friend at a bar, Kim learned of Mandy's case and Tim's potential involvement. Stunned that the suspect police sought was her employee, she began watching him closely. He never let the company clean his uniforms, taking them home instead, as if hiding something. By 2017, after police repeatedly asked him for DNA and were refused, Kim offered full cooperation. She provided his delivery routes, and police tailed him. Tim was meticulous, wearing gloves, avoiding smoking or drinking, and taking trash home, leaving no DNA traces. Then Kim stepped up. At 19, when Mandy died, Kim had been a part-time worker in MM, shaken by a murder so close to home. Now a mother, she empathized with Mary's pain and vowed to help. On August 10th, 2017, she saw Tim use a disposable cup at the bakery's water cooler and toss it in the trash. Heart pounding, she grabbed it, stashed it in her desk, and alerted police. It was like it just happened, she later told ABC News. Detective Kevin rushed to retrieve the cup and sent it for testing. Days later, results confirmed the DNA matched the sample from Mandy's body. After 28 years, the team erupted in joy. They'd cracked the case. On December 10th, 2017, Tim Bass was arrested for first-degree murder. During questioning, he remained eerily calm, even smug. When told they had his DNA, he quipped, "I took every precaution. How did this happen? Where'd I mess up?" He denied killing Mandy, claiming they'd been secret lovers and that his DNA came from a consensual encounter on November 23rd, 1989. He said his father knew of their affair, but his father was dead, and Mandy's sister, Lee, dismissed the story, saying Mandy would never have been involved with Tim. On May 24th, 2019, the trial began. Tim pleaded not guilty, claiming he was with his wife that day. But his wife, Gina Malone, his girlfriend in 1989, testified against him. She said she wasn't with him that day and revealed he'd asked her in 2017 to lie about his alibi and say she saw Mandy running. Gina described Tim as a womanizer obsessed with true crime shows, once boasting he'd never get caught. She'd endured his abuse and wanted justice. Tim's brother, Tom Bass, also testified, saying Tim panicked when asked for DNA due to their close genetic link and had urged Tom to lie about a relationship with Mandy to muddy her image. Tom refused, siding with the prosecution. With overwhelming evidence, the jury convicted Tim Bass of kidnapping, rape, and murder. On June 24th, 2019, he was sentenced to 27 years. The maximum in Washington after the death penalty was abolished in 2018. Defiant, he declared, "I'm 100% innocent. I bear no ill will, but I'm struggling with this." For Mandy's family, justice after 30 years was bittersweet. On Mary's 81st birthday, the killer was finally revealed. A perfect gift amid a life marked by loss. Teary-eyed, yet relieved, Mary felt Mandy could now rest in peace, forever alive in her heart. This story ends here. From a criminal psychology perspective, Tim Bass fits the profile of a calculated offender. His meticulous efforts to avoid detection, gloves, trash disposal, and true crime fascination suggest a methodical mind, possibly emboldened by the era's limited forensic capabilities. His calm demeanor and fabricated stories during questioning reflect a lack of remorse and a belief he could outsmart the system. Yet his downfall via a simple cup underscores how even the most cautious criminals can slip. Mandy's case highlights how persistence, community effort, and evolving technology can eventually bring closure to the darkest mysteries. Farewell until next time.